I'm going to walk through why the Acer Predator XB323QK could be the right or wrong choice for you, without the usual hype. If you've been scrolling through endless monitor specs and wondering whether a 31-inch 4K screen actually improves your workflow or gaming experience, you're not alone. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I'll try to give you enough context so you can decide if the price matches the real-world value. First, let's talk about the kind of setup most people end up with when they buy a monitor this size. A 31.5-inch panel is a big commitment. It demands a decent amount of desk real estate and a graphics card that can actually push 4K at high frame rates. If you've been using a 1080p or 1440p display and you're comfortable with the space you have, moving to a UHD screen means you'll likely need to rearrange cables, maybe upgrade your stand, and certainly check that your GPU can handle the extra pixels. That's where the real value conversation starts, because the monitor's headline numbers look great on paper, but the practical cost is often the rest of the hardware you'll need to make it shine. The Predator XB323QK is built around Acer's Agile-Splendor IPS panel, which promises wide color coverage and consistent viewing angles. In everyday use, that translates to a more reliable picture when you're sitting off-center, something you'll notice if you share the screen with a partner or if you step back to admire a cinematic game scene. The DCI-P3 90% coverage is a step up from the typical sRG Bonnelly office monitors, so if you do any photo or video editing, you'll get more accurate color without needing a separate color-calibrated display. The trade-off, however, is that the panel's peak brightness isn't as high as some dedicated HDR monitors, so the HDR highlights can feel a bit muted in a dark room. Gaming is where the 0.5 milliseconds response time and 144 Hz refresh rate get most of the attention. In practice, the monitor does feel smoother than a 60 Hz panel, especially in fast-paced shooters. The GSANC compatibility means you won't see the dreaded screen tearing when you pair it with an NVIDIA card, and the variable refresh rate works well enough that you can drop down to 100 Hz or 120 Hz without noticeable stutter. That said, the up to 0.5 milliseconds claim is a marketing shorthand for gray-to-gray response, not a guarantee of zero motion blur. In a real-world test with a 60 frames per second game, the motion still feels a little softer than a true 1 millisecond TN panel, but the trade-off is the much better color fidelity and wider viewing angles. One of the less talked about aspects of this monitor is its connectivity. It packs a USBC port that can handle video, data, and up to 65 W of power delivery. For a laptop user who wants a single cable to power the machine, drive the display, and connect peripherals, that's a genuine convenience. The two HDMI 2.1 inputs also mean you can hook up a next-gen console and a PC simultaneously, and just switch inputs without unplugging anything. The DisplayPort 1.4 is there for the high-bandwidth PC connection. If you're used to juggling a handful of dongles, you'll appreciate the simplicity, but you'll also need to make sure your cables actually support the full 4K per 144 Hz bandwidth. Cheap HDMI 2.0 cables will bottleneck you. Ergonomics on the Predator line can be hit or miss, but the XB323QK offers a tilt adjustment that lets you lower the screen a few degrees for comfort. It lacks height adjustment, swivel, or pivot, so if you need a fully adjustable workstation, you'll either have to buy a separate VESA mount or settle for a fixed height. The zero-frame design looks sleek, but it also means the bezel is thin on three sides and a bit thicker on the bottom, which can be distracting if you line up multiple monitors side by side. Audio is another practical consideration. The monitor includes two 4-watt speakers, which are enough to cue you into game alerts or YouTube videos without reaching for external speakers, but they won't replace a decent soundbar for immersive gaming or movie nights. If you're a desktop audiophile, you'll likely want to connect a headset or external speakers anyway, but for a minimalist setup, the built-in audio removes the need for an extra dongle. Now, who should actually spend the money on this model? If you're a PC gamer who already owns a RTX 3070 class GPU, or better, and you spend a lot of time in titles that support high refresh rates and GSANC, the combination of 4K resolution, IPS color accuracy, And Adaptive Sync will give you a noticeable upgrade over a 1440p 144Hz panel. Creative professionals who need a larger workspace and a broader color gamut will also find value, especially if they already have a monitor calibrated for color work and just need more screen real estate for multitasking. The USB-C power delivery is a nice perk for laptop users who want a single cable dock. Conversely, you should skip this monitor if your primary use is office work with occasional